Happy Wednesday, NIO fam. It is Wednesday, July 30th, 2025. As I record this, it's about 9:30, not quite 1 hour into the market open. 9:30 Central Time is here in just a few minutes. We'll probably get there while I'm recording, but I want to point this out because the trade volume continues to be the easiest indicator for us, and already early on today, with over 11 million shares traded during the market in less than an hour. Also, I think with the pre-market, we're probably over 14 million. So let's see what happens throughout the rest of today and then moving forward. But I've actually got some special data. We got updated FTD data, and it made me curious. And so I decided to look at what firms are shorting both Alibaba and NIO Stock with either short or put positions. And so this is data pulled from Fintel on July 30th, 2025. I will link both of the pages that I pulled the data from in the description, so you can check it out for yourselves if you wish. But as I kind of expect before the end of the year to see big money flow into Alibaba, at least, if not NIO Stock as well, I just thought, well, this is interesting. If, let's say, it's still sort of the green light is still in play to continue shorting Chinese firms at this point. So that's why I wanted to pull BABA and NIO Stock together. So this is just 10 funds or firms that are shorting or have put positions on both. And then, so you've got that on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, you've got the approximate number of shares that they're short or with a put position. So you've got IMC Chicago LLC with almost 5 million. That's against BABA. And then over 4 million against NIO. You've got Jane Street Group LLC with over 9 million against BABA and over 7 million against NIO. You've got Citadel Advisors LLC with over 7 million against both BABA and NIO. You've got Millennium Management LLC with over 1.6 million against BABA and over 6 million against NIO. You've got Susquehanna International Group LLP with almost 12 million against BABA and over 16 million against NIO. You've got UBS Group AG with over 5 million against both BABA and NIO. You've got Wolverine Asset Management LLC with over 200,000 against Alibaba and over 19 million against NIO. Now, I've got an asterisk there because down below it, we've also got Wolverine Trading LLC with 1.3 million plus against Alibaba and over 700,000 against NIO. I don't know if these are related or if the entities are at all, I just figured with similar names, I'd go ahead and share the data like that. Same deal also applies with Walleye Trading LLC and Walleye Capital LLC. Walleye Trading with 1.4 million over that number against BABA and over 640,000 against NIO. And then also Walleye Capital with over 140,000 against Alibaba and almost 4 million against NIO. Interestingly enough, if you total all just these 10 funds and what their put or short positions are, you've got over 42 million against BABA and over 69 million against NIO. That's significant if you're thinking in terms of if these stocks take off to the upside, what are these firms going to do? And maybe this is a passive thing for them. I have no idea. I'm just kind of sharing the data as I pull it up and as it stands out to me. But I want to now actually point this out with the most recent data we got. These are almost a million. They're over 750,000 on back-to-back trade days where there were failed to deliver. So could have been naked shorting, but this is back-to-back days. And interestingly enough, one of these was a low volume day with, let's see, 24 million on one day and over 13 million on the other day. I say low volume because BABA hasn't had a lot of huge volume days, and yet they're also doing share stock buybacks through the company from Alibaba. And so my thinking is there really shouldn't be any FTDs showing up with that being the case. But I also wanted to point this out because this might be an indicator of how long or how far after the fact when we see these reported FTDs that they could affect the stock price to the downside, perhaps. This is back on February 21st is when this one was reported, this big spike of about 2.5, it was over 2 million. We'll call it over 2 million, not quite 2.25 million shares that couldn't be located. And then if we look ahead at where the low came for Alibaba after that, we're at April 8th. So that's almost, we'll call it 6 weeks. But I'm just thinking in terms of, well, if that's possible as a carryover. And for example, as per my sort of working theory that big trade volume matters, and especially with NIO stock, where we've seen when there are big trade volume days, the stock tends to move up and move up aggressively. But on the low volume days, when we see things like this, elevated and ongoing FTD reporting, then I think the key really is in this super short term, the trade volume being enough to absorb and overcome what could be going on here behind the scenes. Excuse me. So this is the most recent data that we just got. And so you've got over 1 million shares back-to-back days. And yes, they're the same days that Alibaba had it. So that's what actually prompted me to start digging a little deeper. And then I decided to just compile and share some of that data with those firms and their positions. But we've got an over 3.25 million spike here. And this is a day where there were over 63 million shares traded. But you're following that up with another 1.5 million spike on a day where there were not even 25 million shares traded. So I just think this is really, I find it very fascinating to dig into this stuff and think about concept-wise and how, for example, if the shorts are able to maybe utilize some of these things out a month or even 2 months into the future, but then if they also are at the same time running a risk of getting short squeezed, if big volume comes back, how do they play this moving forward with NIO? I think about to come in with huge delivery numbers in the month of August, which will be reported September 1st. This is going to be a lot of fun for me to track data over the next month plus. And I do think we're going to see big money flow back into Chinese stocks before the end of the year. I think if that happens, we'll be able to see it with Alibaba clearly. But if there are even FTDs coming in at this time, as I just showed, then it seems like the shorts aren't very concerned or scared of getting torched, or maybe they'll be able to move quickly when things start going. I have no idea. I'm just thinking aloud here. But let's get back to this. This is the day. And again, now we're just past 9:30 Central Time as I'm recording. So just over an hour into market open. And NIO stock, you've got this pre-market. This was an interesting 5-minute window where the top of this wick, the high was $4.76. The low was $4.55, and it closed at $4.59. Now, I don't know. I guess if I was going to speculate, I'd say maybe that was a big firm taking a position or making a move or doing something. I don't know. I'm just, again, thinking out loud and sharing some of the data and the research as I dig into it. It's all very compelling and interesting to me. Also, if you haven't seen this, and it's kind of a nod to what I was just saying about delivery numbers and what we might see in August with the L90, I think it's going to surprise. I think those numbers are going to come in much higher than maybe what the earlier expectations for NIO were, even internally. But also, I won't be surprised if Firefly with battery as a service also ends up surprising with bigger, better numbers than perhaps what even NIO internally was expecting. And I guess it gets really interesting if, William Li is confident that NIO can get even anywhere near a 400,000 delivery number for the entire year. I think that's I don't know, that would be huge. I think that would shock a lot of people, even those within the NIO community. So anyway, just thinking aloud, sharing some of the things, within the trade day, and even as we get this updated data, because again, I think in the super short term with respect to stock price action, the trade volume matters, the FTDs matter, sentiment, I think it's obvious is shifting, but I went on a little longer than I expected. There was a lot that I wanted to cover though, so I will create timestamps or chapters to make the video easier to navigate so you can jump around, won't have to watch all the way through if you don't want. Thanks for watching. Stick around to the end if you did. Have a great day or night whenever you see this. I'll see y'all again very soon.